Welcome to Analyzing Trends. In this episode, we delve into the relationship between rationality and irrationality and explore what this dynamic means for how we approach cultural research and strategic foresight. Let me start with a question. What if everything we believe about progress is wrong? We love to think of ourselves as rational beings, strategic, logical, in control. We forecast, we measure, we optimize. But here's the catch. So much of our decision-making, both individual and collective, is anything but rational. Culture is not built on clean logic. It's built on myth, symbolism, inherited behaviors. And those things, they don't always play by rational rules. Steven Pinker said, "An essential part of rationality is dealing with randomness and uncertainty." That sounds noble. But in practice, most cultural systems aren't built to manage uncertainty. They're built to deny it. We design rituals of control to give us the illusion of stability, like urban planning rooted in 1950s ideals of mobility, or corporate KPIs that reduce human behavior to spreadsheets. So as strategists and designers, we must confront this contradiction. We use rational tools, but we operate in a world driven by irrational codes. The future isn't a clean curve. It's a messy negotiation between belief and behavior. And if we want to design for that future, we need to learn how to decode the irrational. Implicit cultural domains are the invisible assumptions that structure our world. They are not usually found in headlines or policy briefs. Instead, they live in our daily rituals, our default behaviors, our designed environments, the things we take for granted. Think of them as the operating system of culture. Like ambient signals in the atmosphere, they are always present, subtly shaping how we interpret meaning, how we behave, and how we design the future. To make this idea more tangible, let's take the example of suburban lawns. At first glance, they seem benign, just patches of green grass. But historically, the lawn has been loaded with meaning. After World War II, suburban lawns became a symbol of middle-class prosperity, stability, and control over nature. It was about conformity, the domestication of the wild, and the visual signaling of status. Fast forward to today, and that same neatly trimmed lawn is being reinterpreted. In regions facing severe drought, it is now a symbol of environmental negligence, of outdated ideals that no longer align with our ecological realities. The same design choice carries entirely different implications depending on context and time. Or consider the rise of large, militarized SUVs. On the surface, they are just vehicles, but embedded within them are cultural narratives of freedom, dominance, and self-protection. These vehicles are marketed as empowering, as tools of safety and control. Yet they also reflect a cultural logic that glorifies confrontation and individualism. Their popularity signals a deep-seated tension between a desire for autonomy and a growing sense of societal unease. Even our interactions with technology reveal implicit domains. Think about the voice assistants many of us use daily. Why are they so often programmed with female voices? This choice isn't neutral. It reflects historical patterns where women's labor has been expected to be supportive, invisible, and available. These assistants become digital echoes of the secretarial pool, replicating gendered labor dynamics through code and voice. These are all examples of implicit cultural domains. They are not just aesthetic preferences or market trends. They are signals, symbols, encoded ideologies. They are the residue of past narratives carried forward into the present, often without conscious reflection. And most importantly, they shape what we believe progress should look like. If we want to design something meaningful, relevant, and new, we must begin by decoding these hidden structures that govern how people make sense of the world. Culture doesn't move in a straight line. It spirals, recycles, reboots. We live in what Raymond Williams called a space of residual, dominant, and emergent narratives. Think of the past's future: jetpacks, flying cars, domed cities. These weren't just fantasies, they were projections of Cold War logic, technology as savior, cities as control centers. They were rational futures, but then you get today's emerging narratives: ritualized slowness, feral design, nostalgia for analog. These are not clean, linear visions. They're expressions of collective unease, reactions to a future that feels like it's moving too fast and making too little sense. We need to map these narrative spaces, not just what's new, but what it's rebelling against, not just what's trending, but what it's trying to mourn or recover. That's how we design with empathy and awareness, by locating the cultural contradictions beneath the surface. So how do we deal with this tension? We embrace the paradox. We use structured, rational tools to navigate irrational terrain. Tools like semiotic squares help us reveal cultural binaries, not just opposites, but the grey zones in between. They map the ideological tensions between progress and nostalgia, between efficiency and ritual. Key assumption checks force us to surface what we're taking for granted, the biases embedded in our research, our strategies, even our business models. What-if analysis pushes us beyond likely outcomes and into uncomfortable possibilities. And subculture analysis helps us understand how fringe behaviors expose cracks in dominant systems and are the early signals of broader shared belief and ritual. These tools don't solve the irrational, they help us see it more clearly. They help us move from judgment to insight. Good design isn't just functional, it's ideological. It affirms or challenges the cultural codes it's built upon. Take dating apps. They promise connection, but design for detachment, ghosting, swiping, optimization. It's rational UX solving for irrational, messy emotional needs. Or think about authenticity in branding. We say we want realness, but we filter everything. So what are we actually designing for? Designing from implicit codes means doing the archaeological work. Start by decoding the legacy narrative. Identify the dominant ideology. Then ask, what are the cracks? What are the counter-signals? From there, design becomes translation. You create futures that acknowledge cultural tension instead of pretending it doesn't exist. We end with a challenge. Maybe it's time to redefine rationality. What if rationality isn't cold logic, but the ability to make meaning within complexity? To design not for idealized users, but for conflicted humans shaped by stories, rituals, and fears. Cultural intelligence is the next rationality, means embracing contradiction, designing across archetypes, seeing systems as narrative fields, not just workflows. And above all, it means humility. We don't predict the future. We listen to its signals, we map its irrationalities, and we design with a clear eye toward what culture is trying to tell us, even when it doesn't quite know how. Because in a world of noise, mixed method cultural research helps us listen. And in a world shaped by ghosts, it helps us finally see. Thanks for listening, and keep your ears open for the signals beneath the noise.